What is going on, you magnificent savages? Welcome to the show. I'm just gonna tell you, today's gonna be a spicy one. It's gonna be a spicy one, and that's okay. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna survive it, I promise. Before I run my mouth some more, let's talk about my website. I love to talk about my website, TravisCrutcher.com. That's the spot. Here's the deal: we are creeping towards full. Okay. I'm not making this up. So if you are interested in workshops or keynotes, any kind of speaking events for next year, please hit me up soon and let's see what we can get you on the calendar for, because things are filling up quick. One-on-one coaching, kind of the same boat, man. So if you're looking to start affecting change in 2026, please hit me up soon because space is legit limited. What else? Follow me on social, please. I said please like twice, man. That's more than I ever say it. If you do, I'm on all the platforms. However, I can assure you, as I always say, I'm most active on Facebook. What I mean by that is I'm more likely to interact with you on Facebook because I'm fucking old, right? I say it all the time. I'm old and I do Facebook. I'd still do MySpace if that shit was still around. I wouldn't even need a website if we still had MySpace. What the fuck? Anyway, I think that's all I got right now. I'm going to now shut up so I can thereby talk some more.
Welcome to Not Sorry with Travis Crutcher, the show where Travis will say some things that might trigger you, offend you, make you laugh, or even motivate you. So, if you're not easily offended, stick around and enjoy. On the other hand, if you are easily offended, listen anyway. Then go tell everyone how triggered you were. Either way, you can be certain of one thing: Travis is not sorry.
All right, my friends, here we go. Today, okay, we're going to talk about something that happened recently that, in my opinion, perfectly illustrates what's wrong with our culture right now. Someone legitimately asked me if I worry that my content might offend some people. My answer, absolutely fucking not, okay? Your offense is not my problem. I'm here to offer strategies, okay? This is not an emotional circle jerk. If you get offended, that's on you, player. You're responsible for your emotions, not me. But too many folks are out here fucking walking on eggshells all day, and they never actually say what they're thinking. And then they wonder why they never see any change in their lives, never see any change with their relationships. So I want to talk about why being offended has become a hobby and how it's keeping everyone stuck, okay? Because, and you see this, man, if you're on social, you see this everywhere. Here's what's happening. We've created a culture where being offended is considered a valid response to like everything. Anything you don't like hearing. Someone tells you a hard truth, you're offended. Someone challenges your excuses, you're offended. Someone doesn't validate your bullshit, fragile ass feelings. Oh, guess what? You're offended. And somehow your offense becomes everyone else's responsibility to manage. That's bullshit, dog. Complete bullshit. Your emotional response to information is your responsibility. It's not the responsibility of the person delivering the information. I had someone tell me recently that they thought, maybe my coaching style was too harsh and that I should be more sensitive to people's feelings. First of all, I'm very sensitive to people's feelings. But you know what I told them? If you want someone to coddle your feelings, hire a therapist, dude. It's just that simple. If you want someone to help you get results, then hire me, okay? Because there's the thing, the truth doesn't care about your feelings. Reality doesn't care if you're comfortable with it. Results don't give a shit if the process offends you. And if you're more concerned, for real, if you're more concerned about being comfortable than you are about being successful, you're going to stay exactly where you are, okay? The people who get offended by direct feedback are usually the people who need to hear it the most, man. But they're so used to everyone walking on eggshells around them that they've never had to face reality, okay? And so why, right? Let's talk about why people actually get offended, because it's not really about the content, right? It's about what the content reveals. It's never about the actual words you say. It's how someone interprets them. When someone gets offended by direct feedback, it's usually because, first of all, maybe the feedback hits too close to home, okay? They know it's true and they don't like being confronted with it. Secondly, they're used to being handed everything, just handled with kid gloves. Nobody ever been straight with them before in their entire lives. Third, they're more invested in being right than they are being successful, right? They'd rather protect their ego than improve their situation. Those fucking people drive me up a wall, man. Or maybe they've been taught that their feelings are everyone else's responsibility. There's a lot of that going on these days. They've never learned to manage their own emotional responses to anything. I was working with a team recently, and I told them their communication was terrible. And half the team got defensive and offended. And I was like, dog. But the other half, they said, you're right. How do we fix it? Guess which half saw the improvement? Take a wild guess, right? The people who got offended spent the next month complaining about how offended they were. But the people who took ownership spent the next month implementing solutions. Same feedback, right? Same exact fucking delivery, completely different responses. And the difference isn't in what I said or how I said it. It's how they chose to receive it. Because look, dude, getting offended is a choice. And a lot of times it's just a way of avoiding responsibility for change by focusing on the messenger instead of the message, okay? And here's what happens, man. Here's what happens when this is the culture that we're in is everyone starts walking on eggshells, right? Nothing real ever gets said, right? Leaders, they don't give honest feedback because they're afraid of hurting feelings. I see this one all the time. Friends, they won't tell you hard truths anymore because they don't want to cause offense. And you see it in families, right? Family members avoid difficult conversations because someone might get upset. Yeah, maybe. But what's the result? What's the result when we do that? Fucking no one grows. Nobody improves. Nobody gets the information they need to make better decisions. And I see this in organizations all the time, man. Leaders who know exactly what the problems are. But they won't address them because they're afraid of how people will react. I can't tell so-and-so their performance is unacceptable. She'll be devastated. Well, maybe she should be. Or I can't tell the team that they're not meeting the standards. It'll hurt morale. Like, who cares, man? You're not getting results and they want to do better, right? So what happens? Sarah keeps underperforming. The team keeps missing targets and everyone stays stuck because nobody's willing to have an uncomfortable conversation. Meanwhile, the problems get worse. The problems get worse and worse. The team suffers. The organization as a whole suffers, all because everyone's more concerned about feelings than they are results. That's just not how I'm hardwired. It doesn't make sense to me, man. Here's the truth. Sometimes the most caring thing you can do is tell someone the things they don't want to hear. Sometimes love looks like honesty, not frickin' validation, right? Sometimes helping someone means making them extremely uncomfortable for a short time. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's bullshit excuses. And so, let me tell you what happens when you stop walking on eggshells and start communicating directly, because that's what we want to do, right? First, shocker, problems get solved faster, okay? When you address issues head on, instead of dancing around them, you can actually fix them. Second, relationships get stronger. When people know, when they know you'll be straight with them, they're going to trust you more, not less, even if they don't necessarily like how it sounds. Performance is going to improve, right? When people get clear feedback, they know exactly what needs to change. And you'll never guess what? Respect increases, okay? People respect people who have the courage to say what needs to be said. I had a client whose team was falling the fuck apart, dude. Missed deadlines, poor quality work, low morale, you name it. And they've been trying to, quote, motivate them with positive reinforcement and team building exercises and cheers and all this bullshit. I told them, like, your team doesn't need motivation, dude. They need accountability. They need to know that poor performance has consequences. And he was worried about being too harsh. I said, what's harsher, man? Having a difficult conversation now or watching your team fail because you were too afraid to address the problems? And so they started to give their team direct feedback. Some people, sure, some people got offended. Had a couple people quit, but the people who stayed stepped up. Performance improved. The team got stronger because when you remove the people who can't handle honesty, right, and that's what we're really talking about, you're left with people who can handle it and they'll grow, okay? Direct communication isn't mean. It's efficient. It's respectful. It's the fastest fucking way to help people improve. So, big question, right? And I get this one a lot. How do I stop worrying about offending people and then start focus on helping them? Okay, I got it, man. It can be tricky. First thing you got to do, you've got to separate intent from impact. You've got to. Your intent is to help. If someone chooses to be offended by helpful information, that's their choice and not your problem. Secondly, focus on results, not reactions, okay? Are you helping people get better outcomes? That's what matters. Their emotional reaction is secondary, maybe tertiary, in fact, right? Third, you've got to understand that growth in any way, shape, or form, right, is uncomfortable. If someone's comfortable with everything you're saying, you're probably not challenging them enough. Number 4, remember that you cannot control other people's emotions. Hear that again. You can't. You can control your delivery. your intent and your message, but you cannot control how they receive it. And fifth, man, be willing to lose people who can't handle truth. Not everyone on the planet is ever going to be ready for direct feedback. That's okay. That's all right. Focus on the people who are. The goal isn't to be offensive for the sake of being offensive, right? Like, be clear on that. The goal is to be helpful regardless of whether or not it offends people. There's a big difference between being unnecessarily harsh, right, and being necessarily direct. And I'm not trying to hurt people's feelings, but I'm also not going to sacrifice effectiveness for the sake of someone's comfort. Look, here's the bottom line, dog. Your offense isn't my problem. It's your responsibility to manage your emotional responses. I'm here to offer strategies, not emotional validation. If you want results, you need to be able to handle direct feedback. So stop walking on eggshells. Stop worrying about offending people who need to hear the truth, man. Start saying what needs to be said. Start focusing on results over reaction, because here's the deal. People who get offended by honesty are usually the people who need it the most. And the people who can handle direct feedback are the people who are actually going to change their lives, okay? So choose which group you want to be in. Fair? Cool. Anyway, hope you guys dug it. Hope you took something away from it. If you did, please share it with somebody else who needs to hear it, and I will talk to you next time. Later.